guys, Billabo10000 here bringing you episode 10 of Rate Their Chances, the series where we rate the chances for potential newcomers making it into the base roster for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, inspired by the Rate Their Chances thread over on Smashboards, which you can find down in the description. If you haven't checked out our previous 9 episodes, click the card in the top right corner and give them a watch. Before we start today's video, I'm just gonna do a quick ad if you will let me. For the first time ever, I now have a shirt design on my merch store. I've been waiting for over a year to finally get this going, and I'm so excited to finally have my own merch. If you're interested and want more info, check the description below. Anyway, for our 10th episode, we've got a set of highly requested characters that all definitely have a good shot of making it in at least. Today's characters we will be rating are Travis Touchdown from the No More Heroes series, suggested by Bomber Blur, Spyro from the Spyro the Dragon series, suggested by Jack Cozier, Tabuu from the Super Smash Bros. Brawl game, suggested by Andrew W., Dillon from Dillon's Rolling Western series, suggested by Amparo Lopez, and Tails from the Sonic series, suggested by Epic Monkey. Without further ado, let us begin, and be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see your character rated, the comment with the most likes as of scripting the next video will be guaranteed to have their first character rated, no matter how likely or unlikely they are. Travis Touchdown is a third-party protagonist from the No More Heroes series, which started out on the Nintendo Wii. He is the #1 assassin, with his source games focusing on his rise to power as he fights various assassins to fuel his otaku lifestyle. He's crude, rude, and not the sort of character you would often associate with Nintendo. However, his popularity cannot be doubted. If you had to compare to a character in the roster, his games are very close to Bayonetta in terms of maturity. Neither series is for children, but while Bayonetta goes for the more stylish, sexual, and yet extremely mature angle, Travis and No More Heroes is more about the bloody, crude, and immature angle. So, two different niches that happen to feel similar at first glance. Travis has been a request for Smash for some time, though his popularity certainly has died down in recent years, with a small resurgence following Travis Strikes Again being announced. But is he a character who should be in Smash Brothers? Well, let's analyze this. Firstly, he wields a beam katana, which is basically a glorified lightsaber. In his game, if it's used too much, he has to recharge it, and this could be implemented into his moveset. The stronger charge the katana has, the more damage it does, perhaps? He's also a physical threat, able to use wrestling moves to his advantage like pile driving and suplexing. This gives Travis a more unique gameplay style, not just his sword, but his physical abilities too. His design is different from other sword wielders, which could help him stand out from the crowd, with that extremely modern look to him that none of the other fighters sport. And he has history with Nintendo to back up his spot. Both of the No More Heroes games released first on the Wii, with the second being a Wii exclusive. The biggest hurdle is that his last game was in 2010 if we're not including Travis Strikes Again, which hasn't yet released, though it has been announced. You'd have expected Travis to make Smash 4 if anything. Well, not exactly. Smash has a trend where fighters tend to make it into the game at least one game after their expected debut. For example, King DDD, Meta Knight, Wario, all characters expected for Melee, ended up in Brawl. Bowser Jr., Mega Man, characters expected or at least speculated for Brawl, ended up in Smash 4. Travis arguably had his best shot in Smash 4, but going by the trend, Smash Ultimate could be his time. And Travis's creator, Suda51, has even stated in an interview how he'd like to see Travis on the Switch. In a February 2017 interview with IGN, he stated, "In all seriousness, next time he does decide to go and make a Smash Bros game, I'm seriously going to tell him, put in Travis Touchdown. Come on, put him in the game." So every time we talk about this, partially in the middle, he listens, he starts to laugh, and that laugh trails off into, ha ha. This time, Sakurai-san, I'm not going to let you go. You're not getting away. With all this in mind, I think Travis could be a surprise pick. as everyone seems to be sleeping on him in the speculation scene. So I'm going to make a very risky claim, and stake my reputation here, and give Travis a 70% chance score. This is a risk on my part, as I am sticking my neck out, and if this character is wrong and doesn't end up in the base game, well, this'll be fun to look back at. As for a want score, Travis gets an 85%. I haven't personally played the No More Heroes games, but I've seen gameplay. I did a massive binge when I was younger. I enjoy the character, and I think he would be a great inclusion to the Smash Bros. Roster. Back in episode 4, we discussed the chances of Sony's biggest old-school mascot, Crash Bandicoot. But what about the purple dragon with an attitude who's always been at Crash's side during the 90s? Yep, today we're talking about my personal favorite Sony mascot, and the better of the two, Spyro the Dragon. Spyro is a purple dragon who comes from the Spyro franchise, which has had many iterations. The original platforming trilogy on the PlayStation 1, the 2 sequels on the PlayStation 2 that changed up the formula as they went, the Legend of Spyro reboot trilogy, which took the character through a more story-based set of quests, which I personally enjoyed, especially since Spyro is voiced by Elijah Wood. Prior to the Reignited trilogy, however, Spyro was trapped in a cycle of horror known as Skylanders, but at least it kept him semi-relevant. Honestly, Spyro has basically the same story as Crash Bandicoot. Big in the 90s, dropped in quality through the 2000s, had some bad games in the 2010s, and then picked himself back up in the last year with a remake of his original trilogy of games. So, with this in mind, is his situation different to Crash Bandicoot's in terms of getting into Smash? Nope, it's exactly the same. Both characters are owned by Activision, which is primarily a Western-based publisher. I brought up in episode 4 that the only Western character currently in Smash is Diddy Kong, and that trend hasn't been broken yet aside from this one instance. So with that in mind, that's a massive knock to any Western characters just based on past inclusions alone. On top of this, Spyro's games have not really sold well in Japan. Yes, they do great in America and Europe, but Japan didn't take the Purple Dragon in quite the same way, and given Smash Bros. Is being developed in Japan by a Japanese dev team, yeah, Spyro is not looking good. He could have a seriously interesting moveset though. He's a dragon. He has had multiple different breath attacks throughout his incarnations, including fire, ice, electricity, and bubble. He can fly under certain circumstances, glide, charge open metallic chests, head bash. There's more moveset potential for Spyro, in my eyes at least, than Crash. But moveset can't make up for a lack of relevancy despite his gaming pedigree. Just like my Crash segment in episode 4, I don't think Spyro has any chance in hell at making the base roster, so I'll be giving Spyro a 1% chance score. I gave Crash a 10% in episode 4, but that's because more people know that he's Sony's mascot and recognize him more than Spyro, so Crash would get in first regardless of how I feel about that. But the 1% is just me holding out hope. As for a want score, Spyro gets my second ever, get this, 100%. Spyro is one of my 2 pipe dream third-party characters, alongside Yoshimitsu from the Tekken franchise, and is on the same tier as my want for Isaac from Golden Sun, so hopefully he gets included in DLC. This is going to be a very weird and very quick segment, because we're not talking about a third-party character, we're not talking about a Nintendo All-Star, we're talking about someone who originated in the Smash Bros. Series itself, and criminally, it's not Sandbag. Nope. Today we're discussing the final boss of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Tabuu. Tabuu, leader of the Subspace Armies, is the primary antagonist of the story mode adventure in Brawl. He's a powerful being with his own unique moveset, and with a few tweaks could easily be made into a character as long as he was heavily nerfed. His final smash could be the famous off-wave attack, which obliterated every character in the Brawl roster during a cutscene within the story, and could only be stopped by Sonic's speed. He could use smaller variations of his moveset to battle opponents, and if given the time, could work really well, but is this going to happen? Firstly, Tabuu hasn't been seen or referenced since Brawl. There was no listing for his character in Smash 4 via trophies or anything, so he's probably been forgotten about or left behind in his installment. Tabuu would benefit from an announcement for a Subspace 2, or at least a more in-depth story mode that could give him a chance at returning, because in my opinion, being on the roster is a stretch for this character. The only way I can see Tabuu being playable is if there was a mode implemented into Ultimate that allowed you to play as a boss character like Master Hand or Crazy Hand. Maybe Tabuu could be an unlockable challenge or fighter? With an emphasis on bringing back concepts and ideas from past games, we could even get a cameo from Tabuu this time around, but on a playable stance, in the roster itself, in normal matches? I'm afraid that's hoping for a bit too much. Tabuu as a playable character within the base roster gets a 1%, because this is something Sakurai could pull off, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tabuu is referenced at some point in game, but playable in normal modes, I just don't see it happening, and that is what we are rating for. As for a want score, I'd say 20%. I really don't want Tabuu. I'd rather Smash focus on new IPs for playable representation, and Tabuu is kind of the anti-choice in that sense, as they'd be adding a rep from Smash itself, which kind of goes against the excitement of newcomers. And so we're back to the age-old topic of debating if a character is in the game because of a lack of their assist trophy in any of Ultimate's demos. Yep, today's ex-assist is Dillon from the Dillon's Rolling Western games. Dillon is the main character of the franchise, known as the Red Flash. He protects villages and the West from enemies known as Groks, using his abilities to tear through enemies by rolling, spinning, and swiping at his foes, whilst also providing resource management and turrets thanks to his games being tower defense based. His design would fit perfectly into Smash Bros., being a pretty awesome Wild West design, while also being an anthropomorphic animal which ticks pretty much all of Nintendo's boxes. On top of this, he represents the eShop of Nintendo in the sense that his franchise is popular due to the eShop, as he's mainly had digital releases. He is published by Nintendo and has only appeared on Nintendo consoles, so he has got that going for him. Most importantly, however, is that he was an assist trophy in Smash 4, and while Little Mac is the only character to have ever made the jump from assist to playable, who's to say it can't happen again? He is at least on Sakurai's radar due to his previous role as an assist trophy. However, does he have the widespread appeal? Not really. His games and his franchise have been very under the radar as far as performance goes, with his games doing well for the niche that plays them, but not really cracking into the mainstream casual audience. Hell, his spinning attacks, at least from a casual player's perspective, could be too similar to Sonic and thus cause backlash against the character, despite that being a gross misconception. And with Ultimate focusing on less newcomers, if Sakurai is to be believed, would an eShop-based franchise really be worth moving up from an assist trophy? I think with Smash 4, Dillon got the correct recognition as an assist trophy made sense. Now, I think he's in the middle ground, where if he stayed as an assist, everyone would understand, but if he made a playable appearance, people could understand that too. He's also a new IP, and with Splatoon currently being the only new IP repped via a playable character, this could be a notch in his favour if this is something to take into account. Whatever happens, Dillon will be in the game, either as an assist or playable. There's no reason to remove his trophy when he just got a game released called Dead Heat Breakers. So the question is, are his chances good? Well, in a recent May 2018 interview with Nintendo World Report, the creator of Dillon's franchise stated they would like to see Dillon appear in Smash, but that it was, quote-unquote, wishful speaking. If Dillon was in Smash, I feel they'd have skirted around the question a bit more and wouldn't have added the wishful comment. So, with that in mind, I give Dillon a chance score of 15%. He's got a small shot, but the line for characters is long, and I just don't think he'll be making the base roster this time. Though, he does get points for being more likely than some of the third parties, and some of the more awful first party choices people have been suggesting. As for a want score, Dillon gets a 70% from me. I haven't played his games, but I am in love with his design, and if I had a 3DS, I would be on his games in a heartbeat. Finally, I get to talk about the Sonic newcomer that I want to see. No more Shadow, no more Eggman. Step aside. For the final character of today's video, we will be discussing Tails from the Sonic franchise. Tails is the iconic Player 2 of the Sonic games, who is known for his role in supporting Sonic as his partner in many of their adventures, as well as being a tech genius. He is an intelligent, likable, and iconic character who would definitely fit straight into Smash if he was included. Unlike Sonic, who relies on his speed, Tails can use his pair of tails to fly through the air, and has a variety of different gadgets from his various games, including various types of bombs, a remote robot, an arm cannon, and even dummy rings. He's on par with Eggman as far as IQ goes, and is more than qualified to take Sonic's second newcomer spot. I've stated in past videos when rating Eggman and Shadow that if any third-party franchise is going to get a second character, the Sonic franchise is the most likely candidate due to Sonic being the only third party to now feature in 3 different Smash games, whereas every other third party has only featured in 2. If Sonic got a new character, I think it's deserved, even if the series itself is kind of a mess outside of Sonic Mania. But why Tails and not Shadow or Eggman? Well, let's start with Eggman. Unlike Tails or Shadow, he would require a lot of effort put into creating a new model, as well as a moveset. Shadow and Tails both have a similar sized model to Sonic, so they'd be easier to base off of, and both Tails and Shadow are arguably more iconic than Eggman to a casual audience. The argument between Tails and Shadow is mainly a case of seniority. Many players prefer Shadow, but Tails has worked his tails off to get the representation he has within the franchise, and has been a consistent character since his debut in Sonic 2. No other character except Eggman holds seniority, but as Tails was technically a playable character in his debut, he holds more relevance to the player, and Smash has always been skewed towards the heroes over the villains. But Billy, Tails is still on the Green Hill Zone as a background asset. Yeah, so's Knuckles, but he's an assist trophy, so what's your point? I also find it odd so far how we've gotten Sonic and Knuckles included in the game, but Tails got skipped, despite a lot of the games pairing the 3 off as a trio. Sonic Heroes, anyone? And Tails did get a Mii costume during Smash 4 DLC, if that means anything going forwards. Personally, I think Tails has the best shot of being the next Sonic rep, at least as far as being a unique character. Shadow could still get in as an Echo though. So with all of this in mind, Tails gets a 40% chance score. This may be higher than some were expecting, but I'm also listening to my gut here. Aside from the evidence, there is something just telling me that Tails has a shot, and I'm hoping I'm right because Tails gets a 95% want score. He's my favorite Sonic character, and I've always related to his character of the young, yet incredibly smart sidekick, so here's hoping. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Rate Their Chances. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next Monday, we'll be taking on episode 11, where we'll be doing 5 more suggestions, including the most liked comment down below. Though I think I will be taking a break next week on Thursday to instead post a top 5 or a top 10 Smash list, so keep an eye out for that one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye. Hey there guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Rate Their Chances. I hope you guys enjoyed. I want to give a quick shout out to my new patrons. You can find them down below. If you want to become a patron yourself and get a shout out at the start of every video, end of every video, check the link in the description below. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe for more, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.